I love Spencer Strand's yellow headband along with the yellow banner at the bottom. I think that was a really cute thing.
I appreciate
right away.
it.
So, just saying, I like it. So, I have Buffalo over the Jets. I don't know.
That is not an upset. Are you kidding me?
That's. What did you pick last week?
Dude,
what did you pick last week?
Buffalo over the Jets?
What did
Jets
you
are like
pick last
the worst
week?
team in the NFL right now.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I have a little bit of man crush on Adrian Peterson.
These are your hosts, Brock Malik, Spencer Strand. I am Travis Brzezinski, and this is the Cover 3 Show. Welcome, everyone, to the place where we promise not to put Spencer's job on Craigslist. These are your hosts, Brock Malik, Spencer Strand. I am Travis Brzezinski, and this is the Cover 3 Show.
Great to be here.
Feels great. Can't wait.
Another great week in the NFL. This week we'll be giving you our top 5 power rankings like usual, recapping Week 6's action. We'll also be doing a new segment called Pursuit of Perfection, as well as our stats of the week, previewing Week 7, and giving our picks and predictions along with the standings for Week 7. Is there anything you guys like to say before we get it going?
Just really looking forward to Week 7. I'm excited. Let's get it going.
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Our team power rankings for this week, as usual, we will be going from 5 to 1, and you may have to defend some of your top 5 this week. Spencer, let's hear your top 5 first.
All right. Actually, let's have Brock go first.
All right. 5 through 3 for me could have gone any way. There could have been different teams in there. These could be flip-flopped. Number 5, I have New England. The big win over New Orleans. Number 4, Seattle still right there. Number 3 is New Orleans. Even though they did lose to New England last week, I still think they're probably the number 3 team in the league at this point. Number 2, Kansas City. Same thing it's been the last couple weeks. And number 1, still Denver.
All right, for mine, starting from 5, it's New England. 4 is Seattle. 3, Kansas City. 2, New Orleans. Still have them at number 2. I think they gave that game to New England. They gave them way too many chances. They should have been able to grind that clock out and get a win.
Grind that clock.
And then number 1 is Denver.
Grind that clock. Brock and I definitely know how to do that.
That's right.
Don't work out in the Super Bowl, though. What?
My top
I did not
5.
grind out at clock.
My top 5 from 5 to 1. New England, like one of you guys had. Kansas City at number 4 for me. They still need to show me something. Number 3, I have Seattle. Number 2, I have New Orleans. And number 1, I have Denver. And Denver is the most distance is 2 to 1. Denver by far number 1 right now.
I would agree with that statement.
All right. Our Week 6 recaps. There was once again a good selection of games this week. Some good finishes like we had in New England. Some tough-fought games like in Baltimore. As well as maybe a couple disappointments. So let's start with the game in Baltimore. Green Bay versus the Baltimore Ravens. We have Brock and Spencer recapping this game. Brock, I'd like you to start and tell us what you liked. And
All right. First of all, great win, Packer Nation. There we go. Anyways, it was really a really hard-fought game the whole way through. The first half was tough, just field goals. It opened up a little bit. In the second half, as far as touchdowns, we scored a couple, got up to a comfortable lead. Felt like we were going to be able to cruise to the victory, but they had a couple quick drives that brought them back. But once again, Lacey rushes for 100 yards. The Cobb injury has been a big thing around the league, and this is what it's kind of come to. People can't hit, high, so they're going to hit low, and knees are going to be the thing that's going to be hurt, more than the concussions, I think, now. So, but it was a really solid win for Green Bay. We needed it, a signature-type win of the season, and that was one of them.
Speaking of that Cobb injury, if I could just step in, you're referring to Matt Elam's hit. I'd like to know if you think that was a dirty hit. I know that was something that I've seen Packer fans talking about. Give us what you think about that.
as a biased fan, I mean, obviously you see your guy go down, and someone that's going low on a guy that's clearly, just landing, so his legs really can't go anywhere but like break. But at the same time, if I was Matt Elam, I'm probably doing the same thing. You're just trying to tackle him. So it's a really tough situation, but it's.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to even Jordy Nelson said after the game, he was taking the side of the defensive backs. He said, in this league nowadays, they don't really have a choice. What else can they do? If they go high, they're going to get fined. They're going to get a 15-yard penalty. It was a 3rd and long. He had to make a tackle to stop him. It was a good football play. I don't see how it could even be categorized as dirty.
And I want to know both of your guys' opinions. What do you think of A-Rod's response and how he got up in Matt Elam's face? Did you like that?
I love it. I love it. He's sticking up for a teammate. I mean, people talk about, or there were questions about his leadership and stuff like that. He's going to take care of his guys. He's not afraid as a quarterback to go in there and, speak his mind a little bit.
I'm fine with it. I mean, I want my guys to do the same thing for my team. If you feel like it was a dirty player or whatever, I would do the same thing. It's your teammates. You got to have their back. But I don't think it was a dirty play at all. And it was funny how Rodgers talked about how the other safety, James, I can't even pronounce his last name, number 32, came up and they actually had like a, sophisticated talk about what he told him. He was like, he can't go low. I mean, he can't go high. He had to do it. It's a big 3rd down in the game,
Yeah.
But into that game, I thought an interesting stat was that Baltimore, 29 home games, they won 26 of the 29 home games going into that game. So now they're 26-30. But it was a tough game. I mean, there was a lot of questionable calls. You get the ball back with 19 seconds left, no timeouts, and I don't know what your plan is there necessarily, John Harbaugh. I mean, you're not expecting a fumble or preparing to get up
in the second half or the first half, right?
The first half, going into the second half. I just think you run the ball and go to half down 3-0 against a very good football team. I mean, that was a questionable thing. I mean, it was a tough game. I thought, it was one of those games that we had our chances. We didn't capitalize. The 2 Rodgers fumbles inside of their 20, we didn't get either one of them. It's a tough game, but, better team won that day.
I know for me, having a non-biased look at this game, I was really impressed with both defenses, especially the Packers without Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
And I was also very impressed with the Packers, their run game. I mean, they're down their top 2 receivers, and their game plan has totally transformed, and they're sticking with it. And I think as the season goes on, if the Packers continue this balance, to me, they could be the NFC favorite if everyone get healthy.
I agree. They've just gotten tougher. Defensive line, the offensive line, they're just they're shutting down the run and they're being able to run it, and that's how you have to win in this league. And especially with Rodgers, people kind of focusing so much on him, and maybe he's not the sharpest he's been in years past. He's still the same old Rodgers, I believe, but you got to be able to run the ball and take some pressure off of him, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, it was surprising going back to that defense. Without Clay Matthews, the heart and soul of that defense, and they played very well. Baltimore's O-line did not look good once again. I thought after that second half we should have been throwing the ball a lot more, and then we started to open it up, and Joe Flacco was able to move the ball a little bit downfield. So that was good to see at the end of the game. I thought Joe played a good game through all the adversity. He was just calm in that pocket and still kept going at it.
And I think the Baltimore take from this is their defense is going to keep them in games. Can their run game get started the second half of the season? And can another wide receiver step up behind Torrey Smith and be a constant threat?
It was good to see Jacoby Jones finally back from his injury, and he really looked good for his opener.
I think if that happens, Baltimore will compete for the AFC North title this year. Now, the game of the week, possibly with the best ending, the New Orleans at New England game. I had the privilege of recapping this game, and all I can say is I'm not a huge fan of Tom Brady personally, but I cannot deny him the praise he deserved this week. His top 5 wide receivers are gone from last year, and the New England defense is actually relevant. They held Drew Brees under 50% completion percentage. That does not happen very often. and Brady he was spreading the love. 8 different receivers got involved, and that big catch by that free agent rookie Tompkins was just it was a clutch play. So the only thing negative I have from this game for either team, because I think both these teams really showed a lot to me, was the New England fans. You guys should be ashamed. 2:40 left in the game, 2 timeouts, 2-minute warning, and you're leaving the stadium when it's a one-score game. Like, come on, you are the East Coast. East Coast fans are supposed to be the best, or that's what we always hear. But that's just really sad, and you guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
I mean, we're talking too much about the Patriots, in my opinion. I think the Saints gave them that game. You get the first time back, Tom Brady throws an interception, and then you have another chance to run out the clock, and you don't do it again. It was just bad game management. Nobody would be talking about Brady right now if the game would have ended after he threw that pick when they got the ball back. It's frustrating. The Saints lost that game. They had it. They had it in their pocket, and they gave it up.
You are right, but I think many people thought that, especially with Gronk not playing this week again, I think many people thought New Orleans would have an easier time. So you have to give them a little bit of credit there. And I agree with you with the time management. I know I had said this to you earlier in the week, Spence. I don't understand when you have a quarterback like a Breeze or a Rodgers or a Brady or a Manning, why do you feel like you have to hand the ball 3 times in a row, to try to waste the clock? I mean, you can mix it up and throw a safe pass to try to pick up a first down. I don't get that thinking.
You can't give a great quarterback like Tom Brady a mulligan. After he throws an interception, you can't just give him another opportunity. I mean, he's going to take advantage of it eventually. You can't just do that.
Right. And now, Spencer, could you give us a little recap of the overtime thriller in Buffalo where the Bengals played the Bills?
Yeah, I'd love to. People have been talking about Cincinnati's defense. I really personally don't think they're as good as everyone thinks they are. Buffalo Bills bring up a practice QB in Thad Lewis, and he brings him and sends him in the overtime against Cincinnati. I felt like Buffalo had the chance to win that game, and it came down the end, but it was a tough loss for them. Good win, I guess, for Cincinnati, but gosh, I don't think they're as good as everyone thinks they are.
My question to you is, what do you think Cincinnati's ceiling is for this year? How high do you think they can get?
What do you mean? Playoffs. That's about. I don't see them as.
Okay.
I don't really see them as a contender. I mean, Dalton has been in his first 2 years. He's been way more consistent. This year, he's been one game sky high, and next game way low. He's very inconsistent. He's been turning the ball over a lot, and I think you can count on a couple turnovers going against him.
So you're saying their ceiling probably is playoffs and maybe a one-and-done situation probably again.
Yeah, even if they do get in the playoffs.
I agree. I could see him getting in, but if they win one, I'd say that's a good showing for this team.
Okay. Brock Malik, you had the privilege of recapping the Seattle-Tennessee game, 3:25 game here Central Time. What did you see from that game and the 12th man?
I did have the privilege of recapping this game. Fitzpatrick had 2 picks. I think if Locker was healthy in this game, the Titans would have probably won. The Titans' defense is really good. They got a turnover. It was kind of a weird play on a special teams play, really, not even defense. But that's how they had their one and only touchdown. So it's really tough, especially on the road, to go in and win a game when your offense doesn't account for a touchdown. So that defense was able to at least kind of keep them around, but Fitzpatrick just turned the ball over and they didn't have a shot with him back there.
Okay. And my one takeaway from the Seattle team this year is, do you think Seattle is capable of winning games where they have to put up 30-plus points? They haven't really shown it yet this year. Do you think they have that capability?
It doesn't seem like it, but if I recall last year, the playoffs, they were able to do that, to put up big points when they had to. So so far it doesn't look like it, but things can change pretty quick in the NFL. So time will tell.
I think you're right, and I think Harbin coming back here real quick, I think we're going to get to see their full arsenal here really soon. So
yeah.
I recapped watched my second game of the week, and it was the Monday night game in San Diego, where Andrew Luck got to make his Monday night primetime debut. For me, Indianapolis disappointed me. They took a step back. It all came down to third down conversions. I know in the second half, San Diego had a huge drive where they just kept on converting those third downs. They ate up 38 minutes out of the 60 minutes in this game, so they possessed the ball. Matthews had over 100 yards rushing, and we all know San Diego isn't known for their running game, so Indy just couldn't get them off the field, and
it was tough. Indy was banged up. I mean, there was at one point where they had a third-string safety in there, and I think, 2 second-string linebackers in there. They were real banged up.
Right. And anytime you come away with field goals on the road, no matter who you're playing, it's going to be a tough road to hike. So that's my takeaway from the Monday night game. Our new segment this week, the AFC West. We have our bullseye on you. Our segment this week is titled The Pursuit of Perfection, where we will be telling you when each one of these teams, Kansas City and Denver, will be losing their first game and what their final record will be at the end of the season. We're going to start with the surprise Kansas City Chiefs. They started they finished 2-14 last year. They are now 6-0 with the new Andy Reid at the helm, Alex Smith at their quarterback, and a tenacious D. Brock, when will Kansas City lose their first game, and what will be their record at the end of the year?
I have them losing their first game pretty late. Week 12 against San Diego, I think, is their first loss. They play Denver, San Diego, and then Denver again. And I think they're going to have a couple back-to-back losses there to make them 13-3. But I think, Week 12, they're going to be able to beat Denver the first time they play them in Week 11, and Week 12 is going to be the week.
So my question for you, at 13-3, will that be good enough for home field advantage, or will there be a 5 seed because of Denver?
It will be a 5 seed.
Wow. That really stinks when you're in a division like that, and you're going to have to go on the road wild card weekend just because. Okay.
Yeah.
Spencer, what is your outlook on the Kansas City Chiefs season?
Let me just give you a list of the rest of their remaining opponents here. And I think the only 2 teams that they really are the only 2 games they have to worry about is Denver. And they got to play them 2 times still this year. But if you look at it, they got Texans this week. They got the Browns. They got Bills, Chargers, Redskins, Raiders, Colts, Chargers. I mean, other than that Colts game, I don't see them losing a lot of games besides the Broncos. I would put them at 14-2.
Wow. But when did they lose their first game?
They lose their first game when they go to Denver, and that's the first matchup. I think it is Week 12.
I think it's a little earlier. Is it Week 12, Brock?
I think it's Week 11. It's Week 11.
Week 11 then, yeah.
14-2. I'm going to ask you the same question, Spence. Do they have home field advantage?
No, he said 12 and he said 12-4.
Oh, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No. 14-2.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
Does that secure them home field advantage, or are they a 14-2 number 5 seed?
I think they're 14-2 number 5 seed because I think Denver runs the table, except they split it with Kansas City. I think Denver will win at home, and I think Kansas City and Arrowhead will beat Denver. And I think Broncos will go 15-1.
So safe to say you two are buying the Kansas City success early on in the year. I'm going to be a little bit more skeptical. I think they suffer their first loss this week. I know it's a little bit of a bold prediction, but I feel like Houston's going to have a good showing. Kansas City has to win their games in a grinded-out fashion, and I think Houston is capable of doing that, even though Schaub is out. I'm taking a little bit
Texans are starting the rookie QB.
Right. So I
don't see that against that Kansas City defense.
I think Kansas City suffers their first loss this week, and I think they finish the season 11-5 because I think Denver, they could possibly lose both of those games because I don't know if they can win these shootout games. And San Diego, with Phillip Rivers playing like he is, that'll be a tough game. In Indianapolis, I think will also be another good game. So I think they're going to be a wild card berth at 11-5.
I can see it too. Yeah, they could go either way,
I think
Right.
their defense is just so good that a lot of these teams are going to have a hard time, except for Denver, against them.
Speaking of Denver, Spence, led by Peyton Manning, who may be a superhero. We're still debating that on this show. Where will they suffer their first loss if they do, and what will be their final record?
Yeah, go back to saying they're going to suffer their first loss when they go to Arrowhead. Fans are loud there. Kansas City's been having a great year. I think it's December 1st. And I think they're going to go 15-1.
Okay.
Okay, I've got them suffering their first loss this week, Week 7 at Indianapolis. Indianapolis seems to play to the caliber of their competition. They've beat two really good teams in the Niners and the Seahawks. Then they kind of play down to people, and so I don't know. I just see them stepping up this week and getting a win. I have the Broncos at 14-2, so I have them losing this game at Week 7, and then splitting the series with the Chiefs.
I too battled with this one because this week is going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be electric.
I think
In
Payton's just he's going to be a surgeon out there. He's going to carve them up.
I think Denver's going to lose in Week 12 at New England. Bill Belichick will have something up his sleeve. It's going to be more of a close game. Tom Brady should have Gronk back, maybe. We shall see. But I think Denver loses their first game in Week 12. They finished 14-2 with the number 1 seed. But I will say their chances of going 16-0 for me are probably about 50-50. Or is it too early to be talking about that?
I think it's too early. Just the fact that they still haven't played, like you said, the Chiefs. I'm not sure have they played the Chargers yet. Like how many division games have they played? So I mean, the division games, it doesn't matter really how good you are. Those teams just know each other so well. It's so hard to beat those teams twice. So it'll be we'll have to see. It'll be interesting.
All right, that wraps up our new segment, Pursuit of Perfection. We will be checking in on the AFC West in the upcoming weeks. Now we flip on over to the Cover 3's Stats of the Week.
Yeah.
Tell me a couple stats that interest you guys this week. And let's start with Brock.
This is kind of back to the AFC West. After I was looking up some stuff about them both being undefeated, it's been since 1934 since two teams in the same division started 6-0. So you don't see this every day. So it's pretty much history. It's history.
And I think to piggyback on that point, Brock, the reason why we don't see that very often is because usually you play everyone in your division.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So that is definitely a rarity. Spencer, what is your stat of the week?
My stat of the week comes to the New York Giants being 0-6 for the first time since 1976, and during that season they actually started 0-9.
All right.
Good work, Spence. Good work.
Good work,
Thank you very
Spence.
much.
I think that deserves a... So Brock decided to talk about the feast of the AFC West, and Spencer decided to talk about the famine of the New York Giants. I'm going to go along this trend line of the Kansas City Chiefs. I am not totally sold on them. I am a skeptic because their first 6 opponents, their combined records are 11-25 this year. Now, granted, 6 of those losses are to Kansas City, but still, you even take those away, 11-19. They haven't played the strongest competition. The remaining schedule, however, is 32-27. The combined record of those remaining opponents. So it's not too difficult, but they should definitely see more of a test the last 10 games of the season. And those are your Cover 3's Stats of the Week.
Stats of the Week.
Now we are going to move right along to Week 7 previews of some of the games we are looking forward to and some of the storylines that intrigue us. We'll be starting in Detroit, where the Cincinnati Bengals, led by Andy Dalton, will be taking on the Detroit Lions.
Ford Field, baby.
Ford Field. I really am sold on the balance of both of these teams' offenses. They have running backs that are capable of carrying the load in Reggie Bush and Bell for Detroit, along with Giovanni Bernard, and the other one is escaping me at the moment, the starting running back for the Bengals.
Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis.
Ben Jarvis, that's right. They both have tight ends that have been weapons this year, and we all know that A.J. Green, Megatron, round out their wide receiver core. So I think we're looking at two pretty complete offenses here battling. The matchup for me to watch is Andy Dalton versus the Detroit's pass defense. They are number 1 in INTs this year with 10 of them. We don't usually see that from Detroit. They're not known for their defense, but I will be very interested to see Dalton's stat line at the end of this game. Also, I want to see if Giovanni Bernard's role is going to continue to increase. He's been a playmaker the last couple weeks. He had a really flashy run last week in the highlights. I don't know if you two saw that.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking to see if that becomes a trend with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the last thing that I am keeping an eye on is, can Cincinnati's defense guard that tight end that I cannot pronounce?
What starts the F?
Yes.
He's got like every time he catches a ball, it's a touchdown.
He has 5 touchdowns on 7 catches this year.
Yeah.
That is my dream career.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have only hoped to have had a career like that for the Amherst Falcons.
Oh my God. It's just hearing you describe those two teams. Really, they're almost like looking in a mirror when you look over to the other side. Great defensive lines. You know, they got big names over there. You know, they got like their big wide receiver, couple good running backs, quarterbacks that can be great, can turn the ball over a lot. Yeah, so they're pretty much two identical teams facing each other. Be interesting to see how they scheme it.
And to add to your great point, Brock, they're even two quarterbacks that are very different styles, but they each have their own little kryptonite. Matthew Stafford sometimes is known for being a little bit of a gunslinger, maybe a little erratic, and Andy Dalton's the opposite end of the spectrum. So, should be a fascinating matchup.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Spence?
No.
All right, Spence, then we'll have you attack the Dallas at Philadelphia Eagles game.
Yeah, this is a game I'm looking forward to. Both teams come in at 3-3, looking to be who's going to be on top of that division after this week. It's in Philadelphia. Cowboys don't have DeMarcus Ware, and they don't have DeMarco Murray. Eagles are starting Nick Foles for second straight week. Interested to see how he can do against that Dallas Cowboy defense without DeMarcus Ware. It should be an interesting game. Who's going to be on top of the division?
I have an interesting question to pose to both of you. When Michael Vick does get healthy, let's say Nick Foles continues to perform well, who do you start as Chip Kelly?
I would stick with Foles if I'm him, but then I heard something, some interview, and he said Foles would have to complete like 100 out of 100 passes and throw 27 touchdowns or something. So I don't know if he was just being sarcastic and just like because the reporters were asking stupid questions or what. But, I mean, Foles looked good. Last week he had a rushing touchdown, a couple throwing, I believe. So I don't know. I don't see why you wouldn't stick with him if he's playing good and winning.
I think you give Vic a chance again. I think no matter, I kind of agree with, I don't care how Foles does, how good he does. I think you give Vic one last chance, and say he starts struggling again, you go with Foles right away. But I think you give Vic that chance.
I guess to answer my own question, I always go with momentum, especially in football. If Foles continues to build that chemistry and keep that momentum going, I can't take him out of the game. I think Vic is going to get another crack at this no matter what. So,
and who's your future going to be with?
Question.
Who's your future going to be with? If Foles is playing good, leave him in there. That's my take on it. But
so Brock, Lambeau Field will be electric once again this week as they take on the daunting Cleveland Browns.
Yes, it will.
Give us a preview of this matchup.
Well, we need to see who steps up as the pass catchers for Green Bay, obviously, with James Jones and Cobb down. Continue to establish the run. Continue to have balance and shut down other teams' run. And for Cleveland, they just need to kind of be able to stick around in this game and give themselves a shot at the end. Green Bay, not as much, especially now with the two weapons in Jones and Cobb gone, but they can put up points quick. So Cleveland's going to have to try to slow the game down and keep it close and maybe make a play at the end to try to win the game. But otherwise, I could see Green Bay getting away from them real quick.
So do you expect more of a close, grinded-out type game, or do you expect the Packers pulling away maybe late by a couple scores?
I could see in the third quarter them being up 14 and then finishing it right around there in the fourth quarter, up 14 or so.
Okay. My second game to preview this week is the Houston Texans going to Arrowhead to take on the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. Case Keenum is making his NFL debut, starting, and he couldn't start against a more tenacious D than the Kansas City Chiefs. They're number one in sacks in the NFL with 30. The next closest team has 22, so they definitely can get pressure on the offense. For me, the matchup to watch is the Houston's defensive line versus the Kansas City O-line, and that's probably on both sides of the ball because both these teams love to run the ball and set up their offenses from that. So I will be watching the trenches pretty close, and I want to see if Houston has any desperation that I thought they would have last week. And that home crowd definitely gave it to them last week, and I know there was talks in the media about if it was valid that they were to go that far. Houston needs to show a much better effort. They can't get blown out like they did last week. So that's what I'm looking to see. And also, a key stat for this matchup, Houston's minus 11 in turnover differential, Kansas City plus 7. Wow. So I think that is going to be the hinge stat this week on who decides who wins this game.
You're still taking Houston, though, right?
I did predict that. I did predict that.
Wow. Doesn't sound as good now when you talk about it.
I may have just talked myself out of that one.
Whoa, I don't know about that.
But I've been bold all year, and I'm going to continue to be bold. And I just think this matchup is going to be a close game, and whoever can make that play at the end of the game is going to win between Keenan and Smith. So we shall see. Spencer, give us a preview of your Baltimore Ravens as they take on the now 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers.
You know, going into a hostile environment in Pittsburgh, still one of the toughest rivalries out there. I don't care about records. You can throw those out the windows when these two teams meet. I think this is a must-win for Baltimore. I think they have to get back on track if they want to compete in this division. If you look, they take on Pittsburgh this week, and then they take on the Browns, and then they have a bye week, and then they go into Cincinnati. So they got that bye week for the first game against Cincinnati. So if they can rack off these 3 wins in a row, they're going to be sitting very good in that division.
What key matchup do you focus on in this inter-rivalry game? You
know, Ben's healthy. He's been playing well the last couple of weeks, but that offensive line is very depleted, and I think, you know, if the Ravens can come out the way they did against Green Bay and get pressure off the edges with Doomerville and Suggs, I think they're going to have a hard time. They still don't have really a running game. That defense, you know, going back, they just got their first turnovers this last week against New York. So I think they're a little depleted. I don't think Lamar Woodley or Timmons or Palomalu are the same players as they used to be. Interesting matchup. I want to see how Torrey Smith goes up against Ike Taylor. Ike Taylor's a pretty premier cornerback in this league, and that's always a tough matchup. So, and I'm looking forward if we can get the run going. You know, week in and week out, we talk about can we get the run going, and we haven't seen it yet, and that's probably the number one thing I'm looking forward to.
Brock Malik, give us a preview of the Sunday night game, which I think will be pretty highly rated nationally, where Peyton Manning makes his triumphant comeback to Indianapolis. Although Brock predicted it wouldn't be triumphant. So Brock, give us a little bit.
It's a huge game in the NFL. Denver, if they just continue to do what they've done all season, you know, they're probably going to get the win. But I see Indianapolis stepping up their level of play. It's going to be a very emotional type game, and they're going to need to create a turnover or two to have a chance in this game. And I think they're going to get it done. The Broncos don't punt the ball very much, Either they finish drives or, pretty much it's a turnover. So there's no really in between. So we're going to have to create those turnovers to have a shot to win.
Do we all expect a positive crowd reaction for Peyton Manning?
I would hope
Yes.
so. I would
Yes.
think so, too.
No doubt about it.
Okay. And what do you think of Elvis Dumerville's impact, his first game back from that suspension? Do you think it'll be pretty glaring, or do you think it's going to take him a little while to get back into the swing?
I mean, Von Miller?
Von Miller, yeah.
You're right, Von Miller. Sorry about that.
I think he'll be a decent impact. I don't think anything crazy. He'll definitely have an effect on the game, I believe, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he will.
Are there any other storylines that you guys want to talk about in Week 7?
I think that covers it for me.
Yeah.
It's covered. Brock, on to you.
All right, the cover 3 pick standings. This was another pretty good week for me. I made up a game on Spencer here. So right now I'm at 14-11, and Spencer Strand still solid, 15-10. So I'm a game back there. Travis kind of fell off a little bit. He's still lingering right there behind, 3-4 games back, and 11-14. So still within striking distance, but he's gonna have to definitely make up some space there.
We're playing for next year. That's my motto.
Yeah, playing for that pick, playing for the draft pick. All right, and the fantasy sleeper winner goes to Spencer. Castle had 10 points. Is it kind of cheap? You pick a quarterback, and we're picking running backs and wide receivers, possibly.
Yeah.
But he won.
I said you don't. Yeah.
His guy had 10 points, so he wins. Bold prediction. Travis wins. He predicted Schaub would throw no TDs. He didn't finish the game, but he didn't throw any TDs either, so he wins that.
I think it was INTs, but
No, it was no TDs for the pick. Or was it picks? Either way, he didn't throw either one.
I don't think he did much of anything. So I predict the same thing this week.
Okay, good. You're gonna be solid all year long.
All right. Let's head to the segment where we pick our Week 7 winners.
Travis,
Yes.
can I just make a comment?
You can always make a comment.
Can we please change one of the games that you have on there that mean nothing and put in the Indianapolis Denver game instead?
Which game?
I guess
the St. Louis at Carolina or the Minnesota at New York. Can we just toss out one of those games and put a game that matters?
I guess if you want, the reason why I just did that is because I just figured we would all pick Denver, so I was trying to pick games that it would maybe be difficult to predict.
Someone picked Indy to win, didn't they?
Right, I do. That's my upset pick, so I'm fine with how it is.
Yeah, we're just going to keep it this week, and next week, if you want to have an input on that, we can definitely do that, okay?
All right.
All right. The Cincinnati at Detroit game, Ford Field. Who is victorious?
I got Detroit at home. Very similar teams like we talked about. I think they can get the win at home.
Yep, I got Detroit at home also.
I'm taking Cincinnati. Going to try to make up some ground here. I think they built some road momentum with this victory as they seek that AFC North crown. Dallas at Philadelphia. Does Nick Foles win another, or does Tony Romo pull it off this week?
I've got Dallas winning. They had a big win last week over Washington. They think they can do it again on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to take Dallas too. I don't think Philadelphia has enough on defense.
I'm going to pick Dallas for the same reason Spencer did. I'm going to take Dallas' defense over Phillies. I think there's going to be a lot of yards and points put up in this matchup. St. Louis at Carolina. Do the Carolina Panthers get their third straight win, or does St. Louis continue on that momentum that they built from last week in Houston?
I got St. Louis in this one.
I like that pick. This one was a tough one for me. I mean, Sam Bradford is having a quiet, good season right now. I think he's like third or fourth in touchdowns in the league right now. But I'm going to go with Carolina. I think they got the momentum right now, and I think they're just going to keep rolling.
So Spencer goes with Scam Newton. Brock goes with Sam Bradford. I am going to go with St. Louis because Bradford is having that good year that we expected after his rookie year. 13 touchdowns, only 3 picks. He's spreading the ball around. I'm still looking, though, for Tavon Austin to become more of an integral part of this offense. So I predict St. Louis wins. The Monday night game, the one that everyone is going to be looking forward to. The 0-6 Giants and the 1-4, or is it 1-5 Minnesota Vikings? I don't think anyone cares. But who wins this game?
I got the Giants. They finally get one. Minnesota struggled last week. They haven't really looked good all season. Giants finally get a win.
Yeah, I take Giants too. I think Minnesota has one of the worst secondaries in the league right now, and I think Eli Manning is going to get back on track with his boys out there with Cruz and Nix. So I'm going to pick Giants.
This is the one game where we all agree. I'm going to take the Giants. I figure Eli's eventually got to have a good game, lead his team to victory. And Josh Freeman starting his first game for the Vikings. It's going to be a limited playbook. I still expect AP to have a decent game, but I think Freeman's going to be the hindrance along with that defense. Our upset picks of the week. What do you guys have?
I've already talked about it quite a bit today. Indianapolis over Denver. That's my pick.
That's a tough pick. I'm taking Washington over Chicago in Washington. I think they're going to get back on track a little bit and make a little splash.
I am taking the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Baltimore Ravens. I think Big Ben continues his strong play. Like Spencer said, it is a rivalry game.
Must win.
They're at home, and I think they're going to surge a little bit in the AFC North. I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs or anything, but I think they may knock Cleveland and Baltimore down a little bit. So that's my pick. Our fantasy sleepers of the week.
Mine's Jermichael Finley. He's going to get a lot of looks with the depleted receiver core in Green Bay, and I think he has a big day in Cleveland.
Mine is Dallas Clark. I think we're finally starting to use him a little bit more, and I think he's going to have a good matchup against Pittsburgh.
Spencer's Baltimore fantasy sleeper of the week. My fantasy sleeper, I am going to go with Harry Douglas once again, just by process of elimination. Julio Jones out for the year. Roddy White's probably going to miss this game. Matt Ryan's going to have to throw it to someone.
Roddy White won't miss the game, dude.
I think he might.
He hasn't missed the game in, like, they always say, like, no matter how injured it is, he always finds a way to play. He hasn't missed the game. I wish I knew the stat right now. It's like something crazy.
Right.
It's like he started like the last 5 years or something.
He's got a hamstring and an ankle injury, so even if he does play, he's going to be 50% at best. So Harry Douglas, for the second and last time this year, put up some fantasy points for me.
Hey, what do you think about that? What do you think about that Gonzalez? They're talking about trading him to Kansas City.
I give myself a little pat on the back for this one because I actually started this up a couple weeks ago asking about if Gonzalez would get traded. I don't know if I said exactly Kansas City, but I think it would be interesting. I think Kansas City's pretty good in the tight end department, so I think it would.
He said he's not jumping ship. He said he's not leaving.
Right. I think it would be something where Atlanta would probably have to lose this week and maybe the next week. Like, they would have to be totally out of this thing.
Yeah.
All right, on to bold prediction.
It's time. Brock, why don't you start us off?
A Houston quarterback throws another pick six against the Kansas City defense. There it is.
Wow.
I sure hope not.
Gentlemen, I got to go.
Okay.
Right? So, great show. We'll see you guys later.
All right, thanks, Brock.
All right, see you, Brock.
Spencer, your bold prediction of the week?
You know, I keep going back to this, but I'm going to pick Ray Rice with 2 touchdowns and 150 yards on the ground.
And as the weeks go on, that definitely looks more and more bold, but he's got to have a breakout week eventually.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they got to get that run game going a little bit.
Right. My bold prediction of the week is I think Dallas and Philadelphia will combine for 900-plus yards of total offense.
Wow.
I think it's going to be that type of game. So that is my bold prediction of the week. Is there anything else, Spence, you want to say? Episode 6?
No, just, great show. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Steve Maves, for watching this live. And once again, who needs man-to-man when you can choose cover 3? We'll see you guys again next week.